evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Winklet Gallimore. I am the Associate Dean for the Student Experience, and it's really my joy to be with you all this evening. Our topic this evening is bouncing back from failure. And I have a few quotes, quite a few quotes that have to do with failure. And actually, there's a book written by John Maxwell, who is a leadership guru, leadership author. And one of the books that he has written is entitled Failing Forward. And one of the things that he says is that he has learned so much more from his failures than he has from his successes. And so we know, we go through a process and we realize that we've failed an exam, and we feel devastated as a result of that. But the truth is, there's so much to learn from that experience and so many ways in which you can grow from it. All right. So this first quote here says, we can't love deeply or risk greatly and never know failure or disappointment. Love never comes without wounds. So, it's love month, so we can talk about that. But it also says here, faith never comes without failure. So failure is one of those elements that we need to consider on this road to success. I'm not able to continue I'm not proceeding to the next screen. So is Theodore, are you able to help me, or should I stop sharing? Let me stop sharing. Okay, no problem. So we'll pick that up another time. So basically, I have with me today some wonderful people who have gone along that journey and of failure. They have experienced it. And to be honest, I failed in my final year. I failed one course, a mathematics course here at the UWIMONA campus. And what's the truth of the matter is that, I was absolutely scared. I'm like, what is going to happen? My life is falling apart. That's how I felt. I went over to Chapel Gardens and I was bawling my eyes out because I had failed this course. And it's who went to tell them, Father, that they fail a course, not Winklet Gallimore. That wasn't happening. And so basically, some of us have had this as an experience in our lives, and we want to be able to share with you that it's not the end of the world. So with us, Professor Marcia Roy. As you know, she is the Associate Dean for graduate students, and she does an excellent job working with the graduate students. And of course, she teaches many courses here on the UWIMONA campus. And she has had her own journey, and we welcome her to this platform and this forum. Thank you so much for agreeing to join us this afternoon. And also there is Dr. Shamara Roden, who I just met in recent times, as in yesterday, to be honest. And I met her before I met her, because in the university, she's a recent graduate from the University of West Indies Mona campus. She was a valedictorian for her year group. And one of the things that was in her profile was the fact that she failed a couple of courses. No, she failed one course twice. I think that was the story. And, basically to see that she now became the valedictorian, you recognize that, hey, anybody can do anything. Okay, so I'm going to field you some questions, ladies. And of course, it is the International Day for Women and Girls in Science. And so congratulations on all of our scientists who are on this platform and all the scientists who are elsewhere. Thank you for keeping the flag flying high for women and girls in science. So I'm going to start with you, Professor Roy. Talk to me. How did you feel when you first, give us a little bit of background, a little bit of information about you. I didn't say a lot where that is concerned. Give us a little background, and also, talk to us about how you felt when you first heard that you actually failed.
So, Dr. Gallimore, this is going to surprise you, but this actually involved, okay? So this is my first lab test at UWI. So this was a zoology course at level 1. and they're giving you a lab test. And I thought that, okay, maybe they're going to give some instruction in the lab like you do normally, and you have to follow those instructions. But I found out the evening before the test that they're not giving you any instructions. They're going to ask you to do something, and you have to know how to do it. Then I started to study up my lab manual, but boy, it was too much. So I went to the zoology lab, and you know, you have a partner, and in that test, you were my partner. Two people use the same set of chemicals. And so they would ask you to do something, and all the chemicals are there, but I didn't study that. I don't know what the chemicals are. So Dr. Gallimore would put her thing in the blue thing, and I would put my thing in the blue thing, but I don't know what it is. So I ended up the first that I did in this university. Wow. And I tell you that, okay, so you fail, right? But it's not a big deal. First one, you haven't settled yet, just come. But when we look at the results, man, my maiden name was Aldridge. I had my ID number, my name, and the big E beside it. Now remember, you always hear that they're not supposed to have your name and your ID number anywhere publicly displayed because the ID number is something private. But I'm telling you, my name was there, my ID number, and the big E. And it doesn't matter what your name. If your name is Gallimore, you're still going to start at the top. And you say Marcia Aldridge, it's the E. It's not funny. It is not funny.
Wow.
I was so devastated. I went home, and in those days we never have any email and we never even have telephone. So I wrote a letter to my mother and I said, boy, I'm coming home because I can't really survive this place. And mama would write back a letter in the next 2 weeks because it would take 2 weeks for the mail to come and say, all right, baby, if you can't manage, you come home. But I made a commitment, man, that I'm not going to fail anything else in this university. No, you must remember that failure is, if you don't try and you don't get the results that you want, then you should expect that. So I did fail prelim math. You're talking about final year math. I failed prelim math.
Wow.
And I failed so badly they wouldn't allow me to do it over. So I never did A-level math and I failed prelim math. But after that first year, and it was year long, so it was at the end of the year that I failed the math, but it wasn't as devastating because I didn't really try. But I never failed anything else. After that first test failure, and I was so embarrassed because everybody knows I don't fail the zoology lab test, I decided I wasn't going to fail anything else. The math didn't bother me because I didn't really try with the math. I knew I was going to fail it.
Okay.
So that was my experience, man. I almost left and went home. You know, you have to toughen up and you can't run back every time something goes bad. So here I am. So Dr. Gallimore, when I go to my class and I tell my students, my molecular biology students, I say, listen, just because you can't do maths, that don't mean you can't become a professor. I get applause every time because many of us biologists, we have challenges with math, okay? So we just admit it and we move on and you can still become a professor. So there you go. That's my...
Awesome. So hold on. So you online, you told your mother that you failed, and are you saying you also went, she responded and told you to come home? Is that what you said?
Listen, man, it's not that simple. I wrote her a letter because we don't have any telephone, and you post it in the post and then it goes to St. Elizabeth, and 2 weeks later you get a letter that says, come home, baby, if you can't manage. You understand? But by then, you know, you have to buckle down and do your work. So
right. So you had a couple of weeks to center yourself and get back up and running and recognize that, okay, you're still capable.
I never did another zoology course. Thank you very much. That's the truth.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Awesome. Okay, excellent. So Shamara Roden, can you first just give us a little bit of a background, give us a little bit of your history, you know, who is Shamara Roden, what brought her to the University of West Indies Mona campus, and then tell us about your failure.
Okay. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Shamara Roden. I'm currently a medical intern at the Maypen Hospital. And what brought me to you is because I wanted to study medicine. Now, my failure experience actually started in my first year as well, in the second semester when we were doing critical reading and writing. Now, usually you hear before you go into critical reading and writing that it's hard and whatever. But I was like, I'm gonna breeze through it. Right? I said I was going to breeze through it. And unfortunately, I just said that, okay, I just want to pass. Based on everything that I heard, I just wanted to pass. That was my goal and that was my mindset. However, when the results came out, I got 49%. Right?
Wow.
I was devastated, right? I cry. I walk up to the department and I cry. Right? And what really stood out to me was my mindset. I just wanted to pass. Persons would say, aim for the sky and I land on the clouds. So I never even give myself any breathing room. I just wanted to pass. So if I just fell short, I couldn't blame myself, right? Because my mindset was wrong from the start. I just wanted to pass, right? And so that was the first time. And I said, okay. Well, sharing it with my mommy, she was more supportive because me they are ball bad. Right? So I was crying a lot. So she was very supportive, and the plan was I would sit it in second semester. Now I sit it in second year, second semester, and again I went with the same mindset. Say, God, I just need to pass. Just make me get the 50%, right? And I went with the same mindset, and that time I got 46%. And I'm like, what is going on? Right? And then that was the time I decided that, it's time to leave UWI, like go on this medicine dream, because I could not pass this foundation course. And then the next time I had to do it now, it was going to cost me, right? Because I would have to do it over the summer. So now it's going to cost me $27,000. And I'm like, oh my God, you see, I can't waste this money, right? Because my mommy had to help me to find that money. And I'm like, no, I have to change the mindset. So that it's the third time around, I said, the mindset has to change, right? I had to look back and say, why did I fail? Right? Why did I fail? And I looked at my mindset, I looked at what was my goal, and I looked at my strategy. I wasn't giving the foundation course as much effort, as much attention as my medical courses. I was treating it as subpar, so I was going to get subpar results, right? That is what I learned from that experience, right? So I had to change my mindset, I had to change my strategy, and I had to change the goal. It wasn't just now to pass. I needed to at least get a B in the course. That's what I decided on. Even though it was difficult for me, I decided that I need to try and get a B. And actually, I got a B, right? And I was so shocked because I was just giving myself a little room to say, okay, if you pass with a C, then you're all right, right? But I was so shocked that time around, when I changed mindset and I changed how I was going to approach the course, that I got a different result. So if you're giving a course subpar attention, you're going to get subpar results. That's just the end of it, right? It was Thomas Edison that said, I will not say I failed 1,000 times, but I will say that I discovered 1,000 ways that can cause failure. So you have to look back. You have to ask yourself, why did I fail? If you just get upset and get devastated and feel like you want to give up and just go back into the course with the same thing, you're going to get the same thing. Right? People will say you're crazy if you're expecting different results, right? You have to look back. You have to reevaluate, why did I fail? Because no one is exempt from failing, right? Failure is a part of success, right? There's no success without failure, right? So you have to go back. You have to reevaluate. So if you fail a course in first semester, spend some time, reevaluate. What did you do and what can you do different? Answer the question, why did you fail? Sure, you'll make the changes and you'll do differently.
Okay, thank you so much for that insight. So remind me, you're saying that time number one, you just wanted to pass, and time number two, you also just wanted to pass. That was the mindset. Was I just want to pass mindset? Okay, but then when you realize that more money was involved, then it led to a shift in terms of of that thought process. Okay. Did you get a scholarship going to UWI?
Yes, I did. I got a scholarship for my 5 years from IGL, but it have covered that $27,000.
Okay. So that one hit you in your
Yes.
pocket. Okay. So clearly both of you told your parents, it was like a non-issue, but what is the reality? There are some persons who, and I've heard of it specifically, where, students flunk out first semester and parents are clueless. Do you think that there's an ethical issue in that mix? So you fail out first semester, they're clueless, they're even required to withdraw sometimes. And guess what? Required to withdraw and parents are clueless, you're still going to school like normal, is in how do you face your family members? So Dr. Roy, you came from country and everybody pack you up and feel good, say, yeah man, a daughter of the soil is going to UWI, and then you flunk out. So let's say you fail first semester, every single striking thing you fail in first semester. What would be your type of advice to someone whose parents are not going to tell you, hush honey, come home, you pay your good money, or your student loan was involved in your getting to this point, and your grandmother and your auntie and everybody is like, yeah man, she's going to make the family proud and all of those things. How do students deal with all of those types of emotions in the midst of a failure? Professor Roy?
I'm sorry, my mic was off as usual. That's a very hard one when you fail and you're intimidated to tell the people that you love that you have failed. But if you have failed, what you need is that you need help. So you have to reach out. You have to have the courage to reach out to those people who love you. All of them probably have failed too, but you just haven't heard about it. Because you can't suffer this thing alone. It's going to make it even more challenging,
right,
if you're going to do it alone. So you just work up the courage and you tell them, and I'm sure they might get upset or disappointed, but eventually they're going to support you. Wherever grandma need to find the money from, grandma going to find it, or auntie, and they're going to send you back because you're the hope for, you're the example for that whole community. And so I would suggest just work up the courage, man. After you have dealt with it yourself internally and accepted it, then you go and you explain to your family how challenging this thing is and that you need some help. And I'm sure they are going to support you in whatever way they can. And you will go back and you will try again the next time. And I will tell you, sometimes it's because you have all of these people supporting you and expecting great things of you, sometimes why you work so hard to make them proud. I'm sure that since I became a professor, I put on 10 years on my mother life. I'm telling you, she's very proud and she's very happy. So, just make them proud. And when you have people around you supporting you, then it just makes the burden a little bit lighter. It hurts still, don't make anybody fool you. It still hurts deep down inside. But the way to heal, part of the way to heal that hurt is share it and also to try harder the next time, because once you have succeeded, then that will help you to heal the pain that is there.
Indeed. But so Dr. Roden, what if the third time, you change your mindset and ready for this? What if time number 3 you had failed again? How do you think you would have navigated that situation?
Wow. To be honest, I was like, the third time I was going to call it quits. To be honest, I was going to call it quits because I was just having this difficulty. But then I proved that strategy not only with doing that course, even I carried that over into my medical courses, and I saw where I was doing much better, right? So in first year, first semester, I got a lot of B's, a lot of B's. And when I changed my mindset and changed my goal and started to have a strategy in how I was going to approach my schoolwork, right? I noticed that I was doing more. And when I got to the dean's list in the second year, I was like, but you can do this, man, right? So initially, when I went to university, I was like, okay, I'm going with persons from all over. Yeah, okay, I just want to do good. All right, God, I just want to get to some B's or get some A's. I just want to get through, right? But when I realized that I was deliberate about what I wanted and how I was going to work for it, I started to realize that this could work. I was seeing much better results. So I don't think I would have failed the second time because I've proven this strategy in my own life, right? So,
awesome,
and then in terms of the question you asked before, in terms of the parents not being as supportive and stuff like that, I remember seeing a quote the other day that the court of opinion is always open, but the rulings are never binding. So yes, expectations bring pressure, right? And persons expect that, oh, you're going to university, I expect that you're supposed to come out and do good and stuff like that. But things happen, right? And none of us are exempt from failure. So yes, persons may say things, and even though the failure is hurt you, what they said as well also hurts. But you have to understand that you learn more from failure than your successes, right? Failure builds character, it humbles you, and it makes you resilient. Because if you stop right there, then you fail for good, right? Your biggest failure is not trying again. Your biggest failure is not trying again. So even though persons may give their opinions, remember the rulings are never binding. It's up to you. It's up to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, this brings us to another question, and this happens in our faculty. This happens in my department for sure, where, you try the first time and you fail, the second time and you fail, third time and you fail. And in Prof. Roy's part of the world, there's some chemistry courses that one has to do in order to get a certain degree. And sometimes they go time number 4 and they still fail. After time number 4, do you not think, Dr. Roden, that it's time to give up? When is it time to give up?
I don't think there's ever a time to give up, because it's what you want, right? If you need this course, because I needed my foundation course to meet the requirements. You need this course, right? I know that it's hard, and I know it's going to draw a lot from you, and you're definitely feeling frustrated, right? You get into a point where you're frustrated with the course, and you probably want to just cuss off everybody and say it's the lecturer's fault, and you blame people, and you're just all over the place, right? But get yourself together. As I said before, you have to answer the question, why did you fail? Right? Because if you're going back and doing the same thing again, you're not going to get a different result. That's crazy, right? If you're treating the subject subpar, you're going to get subpar results. And then I know for some persons, you're putting in your all and you just feel as if, I need to give up now. But I don't think there's ever a time to give up, because when you give up, that's the time you really fail, right? That's the time you really fail. And I know that we're in a pandemic now and everyone is trying to adjust. Honey, give yourself a break. Just give yourself a break. Take a breather and let's go again, right? You have to do something different. Just try another way, right? I know it's going to be frustrating, but you're going to have to push through that. You have to push through and develop a character of resilience, right? Because I'm sure when you pass that last time, it's going to feel much, much better than all the failures. All right.
Yes, awesome. That great sense of accomplishment, and one of the other things that you said, so sometimes you start out kind of slowish, you are the valedictorian for the faculty of medical sciences, and you're telling us that in your first year you're getting B's. So that also says to us that you can start out slow, but it doesn't, how you end up doesn't correlate necessarily to how you actually started the race. you know. So that is also very, very encouraging for persons who may have thought that, boy, their first year they just weren't cutting it, and thereafter they are able to make it through, you know. I know he wouldn't expect me to call on him, but I do see Professor Reese in the Zoom audience. And you know, one of the things that I know Professor Reese, he got a lower second class honor. Was it lower second class honors, Prof? I'm not sure. I'm sorry to call upon you so suddenly, but it wasn't first class honors. But even the fact that you did not get first class honors, it did not prevent you from becoming a professor.
Right, Dr. Gallimore. Sorry, sorry. Let me put.
I can do this with Prof. Reese. Super.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry, I was putting on my camera. Yeah, no, it's not something I'm ashamed of. I've said it at faculty board and to many, many people. What I probably haven't said is that in my first year, I did zoology, because it wasn't biology then, it was zoology, physics, and chemistry. And I failed the zoology, and I needed the zoology to do biochemistry, which is what I had hoped to do as a career. And we didn't have summer school in those days, but fortunately we had SOPs. So, which was a supplemental exam. As far as I remember, you didn't have to pay for it. You had to get a certain, you couldn't fail too badly, and they would allow you a second chance to do it. And if I hadn't got that biology subject, I would never have been able to do the biochem. And I wanted to do the chem biochem double major. So I just had to find the way, learn the material, get help from my friends who had done better in that. And in summer, I did the exam and was able to get through it. But going back to the class of degree, I have to admit that when I came to UWI, just like so many other people, you're used to coming in the top 5 in your class. Your failure has never been an option. And then all of a sudden you come to UWI and everybody else to your left, to your right, has also come top 5 in their class. And the competition is really great. And you're going home and I mean, as far as I can remember, I did not say anything to my parents about failing the zoology, but I just made sure in my mind that I was going to pass it. And and what I was saying was at UWI, I really learned what I wanted to learn, and I didn't learn everything I needed to get a good class of degree. So for instance, I loved organic chemistry, and it's really terrible if you go to UWI and decide that you love organic chemistry, and inorganic may be okay, but physical is a disaster because of my math background. So I just concentrated on what I was interested in. I was very interested in the biochemistry as well. But in the end, I got lower second, and it was then that I woke up and realized that graduate school really wants an upper second. And so fortunately, on the basis of the recommendations that I got from my very kind lecturers, I got into graduate school, and I just worked like the dickens there to make up. And I guess I'm still working hard. Okay. Enough from me on that.
Definitely. And those who don't know, he's also a former dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology. So what this is saying to us all, ladies and gentlemen, is to recognize, I didn't even know he had failed zoology, Prof. I didn't know that story, that part of the story. But the reality is that having failed, that is not the end of your story. You have to recognize that and take a decision that I'm going to get myself back up and running because I will not continue. The fact that you failed doesn't make you a failure. And that is a very important point that you need to recognize. So what is it that made you think that you could still get your degree, Marcia? Prof. Roy, after having failed and I think you had to, you had come in on a 3-year program, but you ended up doing an extra year, right?
Yes, I ended up, so Professor Reese and I have something in common with the zoology, okay? All right. So I just wanted to be a scientist. I felt like if I stayed in St. Elizabeth, I would have to end up working in my parents' business, and I wanted to do science. I love investigations and I love science. So I wasn't going to give up. So remember, at the end of the year, I would have failed math and I couldn't move on to level 2, and I wanted to do biochemistry and chemistry like Professor Reese. So that year I had to do botany and geography after I failed the math, because you need 3 subjects to move on to level 2. And my friends would ask me, we don't see you in the biochemistry class or the chemistry class. Where are you? And I said, boy, the math, and I'm doing geography and botany. And then somebody would ask, so how are you going to get from geography and botany to biochemistry and chemistry that you want to? It was the worst year of my life because I wasn't sure that I was going to get my dream to do biochemistry and chemistry. I work it through. The first test that we did in geography was a general test, general knowledge. Brussels is the capital of which country? And you thought you knew it until you get it on a test. So you failed that test. All right. And the botany, it wasn't hard for me, but I didn't want to do it. There's a lot of taxonomy and all these difficult words that you have to learn. I did not enjoy it at all. But the next year, I got into biochemistry, Dr. Gallimore, and I committed to myself that every day, Lord, I'm going to read this biochemistry text. Biochemistry by Stryer, the blue edition, okay? And the book at the end of 2 years ended up in 2 pieces. That's how much I read it. So every day I have to decide, am I going to carry the front or the back piece? Because I'm going to read that biochemistry book every day because I was so happy to be back in biochemistry and to be doing chemistry. Oh man. And yeah, here I am today, but I ended up doing research on plant viruses. So that those botany courses that I did, they served me well. So the Lord knows what he was doing, although he didn't tell me. Okay.
Awesome. And that brings me to another point of recognizing that sometimes a failure can reroute you in a different direction from what you had originally intended. And that different direction is really where is your sweet spot. Yeah. Really where you ought to have been. And you know, the reality as well, though, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this and who will listen to the recording as well, is the recognition that you may, sometimes we want to be in the faculty of science and technology, or want to be in science, or want to be a doctor, but the reality is that we're doing it not because that's what's in our heart to do, but we're doing it because, boy, we don't want to, we want to appear to be in the bright set of people, you know? And so one also has to really do that self-evaluation. You know, Irving Hall's motto is know thyself. Do that self-evaluation. Ask yourself, just like how Dr. Rowland says, ask yourself why you failed. You also should ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is this really what I want to do in my heart? Or am I doing this because my mother wants me to do it, or my father, or, you know, them said, no, I'm no doctor in the family. And so they need a doctor in the family. And so here I am, the sacrificial lamb, doing these courses that are not taking me on the pathway that I really want to go. You know, so if it is that you're more of a social scientist, or you're more of a arts person, or a medicine person, indeed, I did speak to okay, the name is really, I'm not working well with the name, Noradini. That's not the name. One of the students just spoke in the chat, you know, that he changed from MedSci to AXA, you know, and we tend not to see that type of a thing. You know, if you're in MedSci, boy, you're going to tough it out. But what is the truth? You have to know yourself and recognize what are really the areas in my life that I want to make progress in, and what is it that actually stirs my passion as well. So that's an important consideration in the whole mix. But one of the things that we want to also mention is about the concept of delayed gratification. No, we're not having any parties or anything like that. So, so I can't say, don't go integration Thursdays or whatever. But the concept of delayed gratification is an important one in the mix, because you're going to have to pay a price. Everything costs something. There's nothing for nothing in this world. And so it's going to necessitate that you pay some type of price. So my question for you is, Professor Roy, what price did you have to pay to become Professor Roy?
I love what I do. I love being in the classroom with my students. I can't sing and I can't dance. So when I get into the classroom, that's my song and dance. So that is what keeps me going. I love research. I love to find out new things. So I actually really just love what I do. My mom is a dressmaker, and she's 72 and she's still at her machine. And she said, we're going to have to take her up from that machine and bury her, because she loves what she does. And I always admire that. And I spend a lot of time figuring out what it is that I love to do, because I would want to every day enjoy what I do like she did. And I love what I do. I think the price was worth it. All those years when I was at the University of Wisconsin doing some work with my PhD, man, I couldn't sleep. I'm up at 5 in the morning. And when I'm entering the lab at 6 o'clock, the people who clean the lab at night, they would say, like, didn't we see you leaving last night at 11? So I'm timing them. They come in at 11 p.m. and I leave at 11. And they leave at 6 a.m. and I time them when they're going to leave so I can get back into the lab, because I didn't want to be in there when we were cleaning. But I was so excited. I'm excited when I have to go to the classroom and teach my students. A little nervous, a little anxious, but I'm still excited about that. So I'm an introvert. I don't need to go to integration. I don't find those things I don't enjoy. I love interacting with my students, and I enjoy the research, and I love what I do. So thank you, Lord. So whatever the price is, I would have paid it.
Okay, awesome. Dr. Roden has indicated that she has to leave. She's on duty. That is the life of the doc. Really are very, very grateful for you joining us, Dr. Roden. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you for all of your insights. And, as a younger individual, you just taught the things then, because everything comes at a price and you have to be willing to pay the price. And one of the things you spoke about as well is your mindset. If you don't have the appropriate and correct mindset, then don't expect anything to change in your life or in your world. There is one other thing that I want to mention before I open it for questions, if there's anyone who has any questions. And it's a book that I was told about by Dr. Inka Brown, actually. And one of the things, I don't remember the exact title of the book, but the thematic line of the book is that A students work for C students and the B students work for the government. So how does that come in the mix? The one important element to remember is that, getting the A's is not all about getting the A's, because you can be getting all of the A's and you end up working for someone who's gotten C's, and having gotten C's, they become risk takers. They realize that, boy, this academic thing not gonna work for me, so I'm going to do something else. And they become the entrepreneurs. They become the persons who decide, okay, I'm going to stick my neck out and do X, Y, Z. And as a result of that, those of us who are nice and safe, we're getting our A's. They are hiring the A people. The C people are hiring the A people. you know? And so I say that to say that it's gonna be important for everyone to find their place. Everyone has a place. And because of that, if you may have failed a course, you failed the zoology, or you failed the biology or whatever, you know, do not ever allow that to stop you from finding your place. Every single one of us was created for greatness, and our definition of greatness can differ. And we have to appreciate that that definition of greatness can differ. And so that is really one of the things that I want to encourage us with, you know? So yes, you may not have done as well as you wanted to do in first semester or second semester, or even your entire university career, you know, but you never count yourself out. Never count yourself out by whatever it is that has happened to you. You have to allow what happened to you to cause you to make adjustments in your life. Don't allow the failure to prevent you from becoming great. All right. So I am going to turn over to, do I see her? I am looking for the person who's going to fill in the questions. I am not seeing her. I had seen her earlier on. That would be Tashik. Tashik, are you here, Tashik? I guess Tashik may have had some internet issues. And so, okay, so I'll go ahead until she gets up and running. Are there any questions? I'm not able to see. I'm only seeing in this chat right here. So if Theodore could let me know if there are any questions that anybody has. I think I did see at one point in time, I saw Rachel's hand, and I think I also saw a hand from Dr. Singh Wilmot. I'm not really sure if those were comments or questions, but if anyone has any comments or questions, you are open to asking them or making those statements. Yes, Theodore. Address that? Okay, the difficulty of online exams. You want to take that one on, Prof. Roy?
I don't know about online. I haven't done online exams. I only set them. I don't know why anybody would think that online exams are more challenging. The technology is a little intimidating, even for those of us who have to use it to teach. And we had to learn it too. And the challenging thing might be you're anxious about the internet. I was here and then a little while I was kicked out. Just wait until I got back in, and that will happen with your lectures. But I think that once you prepare and you go to your exam, then it should be okay, you know, just relax. Think about the material, plan your answer, write it, you know, and the Lord will allow the internet to be there so you can upload it when you need to. And if there's an issue, then there's always somebody that you can reach out to at exam, in your lecture, or your course coordinator, or some, just to let them know that something is going on. Don't just sit there and get upset about it. And we have resolved many of those problems. So I don't know if was the particular challenge with those online exams. What I wouldn't have liked is the labs. I love being in the lab and mixing up chemicals and being in my little lab coat. And so, boy, I don't know about the online labs. I find that those are very challenging, and I spend a lot of time online with my students, you know, answering questions about the lab. But yeah, the online environment can be a little intimidating, even for those of us who have to learn how to communicate with our students like that.
True. Thank you so much. So it is a new experience for every single one of us, you know. And to be honest, I'm very, very grateful for persons, the relatively younger persons in our department who really have been able to help me get through some of these hoops. You know, I'm still really pretty much a novice with respect to some of these matters. So I know that it must be hard to actually do that navigation, you know, but it's a challenge, guys, and it's a challenge that you're going to have to take a decision. Okay, I'm going to face this challenge head on and do what I need to do to get to where I want to go. You know, just realize it's another hurdle, and you know, you make the decision: am I going to go over the hurdle, or am I going to allow this hurdle to stop me? You know, and there's no one who has been great, who has accomplished great things without some type of challenge. That's really the reality, you know. Dr. Singh Wilmot?
Thanks, Dr. Gallimore. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me add in on this online challenge to everybody. We have a nice support system, I think, in the faculty with lecturers and administrators and our peers who are approachable. I think we have the FST really has a nice spirit of support. From the library, from chemistry at the top of the spine all the way down. And I think if you have those fears about online exams, or if you have those challenges navigating, like Dr. Gallimore said, she reached out to colleagues in the department, reach out to your lecturers, to your student reps, to your friends, and let's fix your problem. Because indeed, when you go into an exam with some kind of anxiety already, you know, you have anxiety going in. Exam itself is gonna bring that, and you have to learn how to control that. So let's fix that problem before. So if your challenges are that, the technology and navigating the technology, get some help. Get some help before. And let me tell you, for every problem you have, the university has some place or somebody to help you. So one of the things you must be brave to do not be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Communicate, all right? So reach out for help. I think that's one of the things we need to do, is to communicate some more and fix up the problems before the moment comes for assessment, you know?
Okay, thanks much. So just for clarity's sake, you know, if the exam is an open book exam, then you'll be told that, right? If it's not an open book exam, you'll also be told that. All right. So just wanted to make that one clear. Okay, wonderful. So I'm gonna hand back over to Tashik, who should be the one doing questions. Are there any questions, any further questions in the chat, or anything, Tashik, that you would have experience with the persons in the mentorship program that you lead among the students?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. My apologies. I'm actually having a lot of technical difficulties on my side. So from the YouTube chat, we don't have any questions so far, but some persons were expressing agreement with what was being said, stating that it was helpful. And in terms of the mentorship program, we really have second year and third year students within the Faculty of Science and Technology mentoring first year and second year students. So we've had a lot of success with the program so far, because sometimes you just want to have a student telling you what it is like. So in my own experience, I've spoken with persons who have said that they failed courses and they feel really bad, because while I haven't failed a course, I've done like really, really poorly, and I've felt like I've failed. But the thing about it is for you to just regroup and say to yourself, this is not really what I'm made of. I can do more. So you just really, as Dr. Roden said, you have to really look at why you failed and say to yourself, if this is what you want, so you try to do better.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, great. If there are no more questions or comments, were there any more comments? I know that Justin is going to be sharing a little bit later on, but I think he did make a comment in the chat regarding the fact that, you know, yes, the education and the book part is important, but you also need to, yes, he said academics is not everything. And he is one of the students with one of the highest GPAs in our faculty, you know, so we also have to recognize that somehow, some way, we have to do some level of balancing, you know, to recognize that. And one of the things that I want to mention on this platform is some basic thing, the basic thing of how to get along with people. That can get you way further than a degree can. So you need to be thinking about how to enhance your EQ as opposed to your IQ. So the IQ is very critical, guys. You need to get a foot in the door. You need to have something, yes? So you need to have something to get your foot in the door. But once your foot is in the door, how are you going to interface with people around you? You know, that is really very, very critical to developing. It's very critical that you develop yourself in all of the areas of your life, you know? And so it's a lot. I know it's a lot to put in the mix, but it's important to recognize that indeed academics is not everything. And so you have to seek to see how you can live a balanced life. Okay, so nothing else in the chat, Tashik, to speak to? Okay, I'm not hearing from Tashik. All right, no problem. All right, so
there's nothing else in the chat so far.
Okay, not a problem, not a problem. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up with just asking what advice you have for persons who failed out, totally flunked out semester one. Just wrapping up piece of advice. I'm gonna ask Dr. Roy to make a comment, and since Prof. Reese is also here, and I've called up on him already, I'll also ask Prof. Reese to make a statement regarding, you know, what advice for persons you failed semester one exams. How do you regroup and get yourself back together for semester two that we're currently in?
You know, about 10 years ago, I was doing research on HIV and I tried to publish a paper, and the publisher says, no, your paper is not good enough. And it took me a whole year, one full year, before I had the courage to look at the comments and make the corrections. And I didn't send it back to the same journal. I sent it to a different scientific journal, okay? So when you fail, you need to spend some time thinking about it and just deal with yourself, because it's going to make you angry. It's going to make you disappointed. But you have to think about why that happened. And if you decide that this is what you want to do and you're going to try again, then remember that, you know, my grandmother used to say, if you do the same thing in the same way, then you should expect the same results. So you have to do something differently. So you have to think about very carefully. Why is it that you fail? What is it that you're going to do differently? And you must make a commitment to yourself and keep it, because doing nothing and failing and doing the same thing again and failing is very, very, very easy. But changing what you do is very challenging. So when something good happens, I love to tell my children, yeah, that's what hard work feels like. So when they succeed at something, I remind them about the hard work that went into it. So now you have to make up your mind that you're going to work harder, you're going to work smarter. Maybe you're going to get some advice about how you can do better. And then you must do the whole thing and do it again. But always, man, at the back of your mind, you are wondering, Lord, am I going to make it? Am I going to fail again? You never really, no matter what everybody says, you know, you must be strong. You always have at the back of your mind, am I going to fail again? But you just try, because just like the other speaker said, listen, you can fail. The only failure is not trying. So just talk to somebody, get some help, figure out why you fail, and then Remember, you're going to have to go and sit those exams again, sitting there at that desk, writing the same exam that you failed before. It's going to feel a little intimidated, but man, I can tell you the joy of it. When you really do well, you'll never forget that feeling, and you will never want to go back and fail again because it feels so good just to overcome that failure. And it's something that all of us have to learn to do.
Awesome, awesome,
And
awesome.
multiple times too, multiple times we have to learn to overcome those failures. Thank you, Dr. Gallimore.
Thank you so much. Prof. Reese, do you have any words, any advice for persons who failed their semester 1 exams? You know, any word of advice that comes up?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is that UWI and the faculty are very forgiving. I think I have to be very careful how I say this, you know, because I don't want to encourage anybody to fail. But, you know, students, many students, I won't even say what percentage, many students in their first year do poorly, well, get an overall GPA of less than 2, and they're asked to withdraw from the faculty. Now that's after 2 successive semesters. So I'm not even dealing with somebody who has just failed the first semester. First semester is very, very hard and challenging for most people because it's a real step up. It's a bigger step than you took, say, from going to primary school to high school. Mm-hmm. And many people fall by the way. But once even if your second semester is not good, and I'm really hoping for those who are listening and who had some issues with first semester that their second semester will be better. But even so, as I say, the faculty is fairly forgiving. Don't just give up. Don't go home and sulk. Come back, talk to the associate dean, and indicate what you think went wrong, and you're usually given a second chance. I know that there are financial costs associated with that, but you have said already, if you have a vision, then you should just work towards that. Find some way. I just want to give one example. There were some students, when I was in the faculty office, we were interviewing students for the principal scholarship. And there was a young lady who really stood out. And quite often nowadays, it's always a young lady who found a way. We asked her, we said, you are here. How did you get the money to pay the fees? And she said she needed $200, and at that time, I think it was $260,000 for fees. And she's from a rural community where everybody knows her, and she has a strong church group. And she said she went to everybody who she could in the community and asked them for $1,000 each. She knew if she went and asked, she said there wasn't anybody she could ask for $10,000. She found over 260 people who gave her $1,000 each. And she said that's how she got there. She said she didn't know how she was going to get the money to pay for the rent on campus and food and all of that. But she was there, and she was presenting herself, and she said she was ready to get the scholarship. Well, of course,
you got this,
one of those who got the scholarship, because everybody was so impressed. So just put your all into it, and you should be there. And just one thing I was thinking about, a little bit off the track, but something that Prof. Roy said made me decide to say it. I like to think I have a very good relationship with students, and I was a little disappointed last academic year when just during a discussion online with the students who I was teaching, one of them admitted that he had gone to his lecturer, and I'll say who it was. It was Dr. Marakun, Professor Roy's good friend in biochemistry, and indicated that he didn't have a laptop or a tablet or whatever, And of course, university has provided some, and that's the way he got it. And I was very disappointed that he didn't speak to one of us in chemistry, because I thought many of his lecturers in chemistry would have been quite open. What am I saying here? Students, do not be embarrassed to ask things that you need. There are very, very few of us who are academics who came from a rich family. And so we understand. When I was a grad student, there were times when I had to talk to the university because I couldn't pay my fees. There were times when I couldn't pay my rent, and thank God that my housemates were able to come up with it, and then afterwards I was able to pay them back. So I'm just saying, if you have a need, ask. Right, and I think I better leave it there. Probably said enough.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Prof. Because, sometimes you go through rough patches and, you see people where they're at. You don't know what they went through to get to where they're at. And there's one final question that Tashika's put in the chat. What if you're blocked from an exam? Do you have to pay to resit it in the summer? Okay, so it depends on how you're blocked. If the block was something due to your non-payment of fees, then unfortunately you're going to have to pay to resit it in the summer. If it was an error made through the university system and they have admitted that it's an error on their part, then that would not be a problem in terms of resitting it without paying. All right, so that was that question that I wanted to just speak to. All right, I'm going to hand over now to Dr. Marvadine Singh-Wilmot, who is going to be announcing those students the top 6 students in our faculty who have the highest GPA. So I'm handing over to Marvadine Singh-Wilmot. I'm not seeing the screen, Dr. Singh-Wilmot. Yeah, I'm not seeing your screen. Is it possible to ask Theodore? Theodore, you have the file. Are you able to do that? This is for the GPA students. Okay. So you can stop sharing, Dr. Singh-Wilmot.
Dr. Gallimore, I noticed that Dr. Singh-Wilmot's mic is muted as well. I wonder if she's actually even hearing us.
Oh, I'm not sure. Dr. Singh-Wilmot, are you hearing us? I'm not sure. Hold on. I was checking if she was just calling me, but I'm not seeing. Okay. Okay. Dr. Singh-Wilmot, are you there? You do this so much better than me. So what we're seeing on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, our top 6 GPA performance in the entire Faculty of Science and Technology. Let me just try and find Dr. Singh-Wilmot's. That's one of the beauties of the online space, sometimes yeah, it's unfortunately, I'm not seeing Dr. Singman. So let's just go back through it again. Okay, so the faculty congratulates our top performing students for semester one. So semester one only. And so here we have Matthew Palmer with a 4.18 GPA. And also with a 4.18 GPA is the next person who is Ready. That is the easiest name for me. Ready. Congratulations, Ready, on 4.18 GPA. And the other person with a 4.18 GPA is Chantel Wellington, 4.18. Thank you and congratulations on believing in yourself to progress to this stage. I think she's a first-year student. Ruth and Blair, 4.20 GPA. Congratulations. Shanice Jones, I'm not sure what school uniform that is, but I'm sure you'll tell us. It's a 4.24 GPA, and Justin Lynch with a 4.30. That sounds like a perfect score, GPA. Congratulations. And so just noting, the Faculty Awards ceremony is going to be held on Thursday, March 25. So we invite you to join us for that. It's going to be on an online platform. So you can come back off the screen, and what I'll have happen, no problem. So I'm going to hand back over to you, Marva Dean, for you to have the students open their mics and say something about themselves.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gallimore. My computer must have just been working too hard today. It is out. It just got shut down. So
oh, no.
Could you put the slides back up on the screen for me? I want to join you and my colleagues in congratulating everyone. Last semester was a tough semester for us all. And indeed, these are the students who have dealt with the challenges. They will share, I am sure, at some point with the rest of you, some of the strategies that cause them to excel. But we want to hear from them what their majors are, maybe a comment or two from each of them. Dr. Gallimore, can I have the PowerPoint, Theo, up again so I can call on each of them in turn? We are, as a faculty, we are proud of all of you. But we want to select these guys out right now because this is the moment for this. But we want to say all of us, just because we made it on this end, we have done well. Okay, so let's have the first person we're gonna ask. Oh, that's moving very fast there, Theo. All right, we're gonna ask Matthew Palmer. Matthew, can you open your microphone and share with us what your major is and any other comment you would like to make at this time?
Hello. Can everyone hear me?
We're barely hearing you, Matthew.
Hello.
Matthew,
yeah.
could you speak up a little bit more?
Hello.
Yes, that's better.
Okay. Hi everyone. My major is computer science. And any comments that I have, just keep trying. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. And we celebrate you in this moment and we wish you all the best. Continue to do us proud. Who do we have up next, Theo? Can I have, that's Saisan Kurth, ready, Naredai.
Naredi.
Sai, can you open your microphone, please? And
yes,
go right ahead.
Yeah, my name is Sai Sankirth, ready Naredi. And people generally call me Sai, obviously because of the length of the name. So I'm a final year AXI student. And in terms of comment, as I had mentioned in the chat, I'd probably term myself as a mid-school dropout. Well, I don't want to say dropout, but it is what it is. I left and found my passion in AXI. And I mean, think I've been not doing bad. So, because, it's I found my passion. Thank you.
So your example is one for all of us to follow. Sometimes it happens at different times, but if we only could find our passion, and you know, I always say to my students, if I could give you one thing, I would give you that thing that Sai has found. I would give you passion. Go and find it. Thank you, Sai. Can I have the next one, please, Theo? Congratulations, Chantel Wellington. Chantel, can you open your microphone and take the floor, please?
Hello, everyone. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I'm Chantel Wellington, and my major is computer science. My advice to anyone is just remember why you're doing this and do not procrastinate.
Wonderful, Chantel. Thank you very much, and congratulations to you, my dear. You're going to do it again. You're going to possibly do it better this time. Keep on going.
Thank you so much.
And Ruth Ann there. Ruth Ann, it's your time.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ruth Ann Blair. I am a first-year student of Bacterial Science. And my comment, it really was a difficult semester, so I really want to say congratulations to everybody. And myself, everybody, all of you guys that did well, and everybody else, even those that didn't come in the top 6. But congratulations.
Ruth Ann, if you were to share one tip, what would that be to your peers?
There's a lot to do. There's always going to be a lot to do. So I try to put what I have to do in order and work in terms of urgency. And that helps. If I don't get to do everything, at least what has to be done quickest is already finished. So I'm not
So do not procrastinate, right?
In short, yes.
Make the best of the moment, everybody. I think that's good advice from Miss Ruth Ann Blair. Congratulations, Ruth Ann. We'll see you at Faculty Awards. Can I have the next slide, please? And this is Shanice, Shanice Jones. Congratulations, Shanice. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm a first-year student and my major is computer science. If I had any advice to give, I would say it's really hard to focus at home. I'm sure everybody else would agree. And I feel as though I have to find a way to keep myself focused, keep myself away from what makes me extremely comfortable and want to just relax. So definitely that was what was helpful last semester, so that I can get everything that I need to get done and not procrastinate.
So you're saying, Shanice, so you kept on working so that you wouldn't get distracted by the things that are so close to you now that you're learning from home?
Yes. So like it would be very easy to just sit on the couch, watch TV. I have a class right now. I probably just want to do something else, but I have to find a way to move away from that and not get distracted.
So you immerse yourself in your work and it brought you some good rewards. Awesome. And what is beautiful about that, guys, and what is very important, and I alluded to it earlier when I spoke, your generation, your group, you are going to need to make sure for yourself and for your future that the grade matches the competency. Yes, people, we have to be real about what's going on right now during the pandemic and learning in the pandemic. It is your responsibility to make sure that the grade matches the competency. If ever there was a time when you need to make sure that you are really learning, and like I always say to my students, you feel it right through to your bones. It is now, and you all can do it. Take that advice from Shanice and immerse yourself in the work so that you stay away from those distractions. Thank you, Shanice. Can I have the next one, please? We are proud to introduce Justin and his 4.300 GPA. Go ahead, Justin Lynch.
Hey guys, you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, so I am a second-year student and I'm pursuing a bachelor's degree in actuarial science as well. So, comments. Just like the previous high achievers, sometimes I have problems, you know, paying attention and trying to stay focused because you know the whole situation. But sometimes you just have to kind of make an environment for yourself in the house where you can give school your undivided attention. Because sometimes I find myself maybe scrolling through IG or so on. So yeah, I guess the most important thing is trying to find that space that you can call yours for, you know, school.
And maybe Justin, thank you so much, Justin. And maybe that space might not be physical. Maybe for some of us, the reality is we can't find that physical space. But how about creating that space with your thoughts? You know, with your thoughts, you create your world, kind of thing. You
Yeah,
find
most
that?
definitely. It's also a mindset thing as well. So you know, like just putting away the phone, that's also that also helps a lot because it's very easy to just find yourself taking up the phone and just scrolling through. So yeah, that helps a lot.
Justin, I'm glad you touched that. That's a very important point. We find the minutes and the hours slip away. Next week is week 5, and people are saying mid-semesters are around the corner, and you say, where did the time go? Well, we spend a lot of time looking at the phone, you know, glimpsing at the phone. If you're about to eat, you guys, you take a picture and you got to post it. If you're about to bathe and change your clothes, you got to take a picture and put it up. And then here comes the comments. So we really do need to listen to what Justin is saying about staying away from those distractions. And then when you are to chill, you know, you chill. But when you keep your eyes on that prize, and remember that it will be worth it in the end. And hear me say, make that grade match the competency. Okay, make that grade match the competency and life and all of your dreams. You put the hard work in, you've got the competency, and you've got the passion. Recipe. Thank you, Justin. I think Justin is the final awardee. Yes. And like I said, congratulations again to all of the top achievers, but to all of you who are listening, I congratulate you for just making it over here into the second semester. And I want to say, you know, we can do this at the end of this semester. We can do this. All of us can be here, and we will be here to celebrate you come next year, come next semester. Remember to join us on March 25th at 4 p.m. for the Faculty Awards, when more of you will be acknowledged, not just for outstanding academic performance, but for outstanding work that you have done to in every aspect of your lives. We are awarding and recognizing our students who have done well, full stop.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gallimore. Back over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh Wilmot. I'm going to hand over to Justin. Justin should be saying a few words, so I'm handing over to Justin.
All right, so you guys hear me still, right?
Yes. Yes, we are.
All right, so I wasn't sure if we're still gonna do this, but so I just want to say good day to everyone watching at home, my fellow high achievers, Dr. Gallimore, and everyone here on this call. So as you already know, I'm a second-year student pursuing a bachelor's degree in AXI. And usually when people hear about me doing AXI, a lot of the remarks fall into 2 categories. Either it's a puzzle look as to exactly what AXI is, or it's a surprise look as to how difficult the degree can be. But the degree is not necessarily hard. It's just that from day one, it kind of forces you to develop good studying skills and strategies from day one, because throughout our career, it's really a venture of endless sitting of exams, both as students and once we enter the professional world. So Gallimore came to me and asked me just to give some tips as to how we can, you know, tackle this semester, given that it's online. So there's a lot more challenges that come with it, some new incidents and so on. So one of the main problems that we're faced with is a lack of drive and energy. So I'll just be talking a bit about all of this. So I just want to say, as I said, the first thing is try and get yourself in an environment of learning. So put away the phone or just try. It always starts at the mind. So that's one. Also, sleep is of utmost importance right now. So you do not want to be on the phone all the way up until like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock when you have a class at 8 o'clock. We might take for granted that because it's online now, hey, I can just wake up in 5 minutes and go to school. But at the same time, you're still in that mindset that I'm still at home chilling. Right. I'm not ready for school yet. So maybe give yourself maybe half an hour, get up, do some stretches, and just relax a bit, and then get ready for school. Also, given that the environment we're in, we have something that is of great power, and that's recordings. But we also sometimes take that power for granted, as we might say, hey, I'm not gonna go class today because the recording is there. But that comes with a problem. A problem arises from that you might end up being so far behind in recordings, and 2-3 weeks later is exam time, and it's a challenge to try and catch up back, right? So I just want you guys to kind of keep abreast with the information that is going on each week, make your notes, and just do what you have to do. So I just want to end by saying you have to manifest it, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to be a biggest supporter in anything you do. So work, all of this doesn't come easy, and it takes a lot of hard work, sacrifice, and time. So just going forward for this semester, just keep all that in mind, and you should be able to do the best you can. So that's my 2 pieces, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Justin. Coming from a young man, when us older folks say the same thing, it doesn't have the same impact as when you're saying it. So thank you so much for the advice that you're giving to your fellow students. Okay, I'm gonna hurry on to have Miss Kimone Knight to speak with us a little bit. I'm going to look to the side here because I didn't print it, I didn't print her CV. Okay, so she is a former UWI student. She used to be in the Department of Chemistry. She is now at Chem Qualco. So she is a principal at Chem Qualco and also is at Minot Equipment and Chemicals Limited. And so, this mini segment, because it's just a few minutes, is going to be about looking beyond the degree. And we probably will have to come back on another session to talk a little bit more about this. But I just thought to put this in the mix here. And so I'm just going to hand right over to Miss Kimone Knight. Thank you for coming on this platform and for sharing with us. Miss Kimone Knight.
Hi, good night, everyone. I'm so happy to be sharing with you tonight. And again, congratulations to the top students. That is a huge deal. Even though we're looking at failure, that is such a huge deal, and you guys are doing amazing. And I'm definitely going to take your advice because I've been on the phone and I've been sleeping and I have taxes to do. So great advice, guys. Right, so looking beyond failure, listening to everyone tonight has really, brought up a lot of things within me as well because I consider myself the poster girl for failure. I can't remember at any point my GPA being more than 1 or a little bit above 1 at UA. And even though it was more of a physical and emotional setback that I had, it was still failing. And I literally could not give up. No matter how much I tried, I decided that I wanted a chemistry degree. And I got it, and I'm thankful. So I started to work in quality assurance, quality control, and it was not really fulfilling. And as a university student, I really wanted to contribute more. I wanted to use my chemistry degree because I could not believe that this was it. Quality control, quality assurance. I really needed to make an impact using my chemistry degree. And I was lucky enough to work at Versachem International Limited, which is a cosmetic and household chemical company. And you know, they opened my eyes to all the cosmetics and formulations that you could possibly do. And when I looked at it, a lot of Jamaica's products are imported. When you go on the shelf, we are fighting for shelf space because almost everything comes from China or overseas. And that's when I said, how many cosmetic chemists do we have in Jamaica? We don't have a lot of cosmetic chemists. We don't use our chemistry in that way. We don't and it was very limited, and I decided that I was going to pursue it. Now, even though I had my degree in chemistry, I still needed to do supporting courses because obviously it wasn't something that was learned. I still had to do a lot of supporting courses for cosmetic chemistry. I had to understudy other persons, you know, just to get to that level. So in doing that, I decided to expand and open a business that caters directly to formulation services, a business that does cosmetic manufacturing from the scratch. And that is few to none in Jamaica. I think maybe two other companies probably do what I do. So I'm saying this to say that there's a lot of problems that need solving, and your chemistry degree or whatever degree you are doing at UE in the sciences, there are problems that you can solve. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work for someone. I suggest and I encourage all students, I mean at the university level, to take a business course because you never know if entrepreneurship will be in your future. And you don't want to get caught off guard because yes, you have your degree and you know your field, you know chemistry, you know math, you know biology, you know biochemistry, but do you know the business side, which you know you can learn along the way. But I always encourage sometimes entrepreneurship will be in your future. So I just say, you know, take an entrepreneurship course. The whole thing about being an entrepreneur is solving a problem that somebody has, and trust me, they will pay you for it. So think beyond going directly into a job and setting into a job. Yes, we need experiences, but there's so much that we can do with a degree. You already have the knowledge, you already have the power of a degree. You know, just use it or think outside of the box to say, how can I use this now to contribute positively? And when you do that, you're creating employment, you're doing so much for the social impact of your country as well as the economic impact of your country. So think outside the box is what I have to say when it comes to journeying into entrepreneurship.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you so very, very much, Miss Knight. And you know, there was a quotation that I'd done made earlier in terms of A students working for C students and B students working for the government. You know, I didn't know about your academic history, you know, but the truth of the matter is you made it through, and we're all very grateful that you're able to make it through, to get your foot through the door so that you're now in a position to be able to have some level of credence associated with what it is that you actually do. So having the qualifications is going to be an important aspect of it. But as we keep saying, you know, don't let that be the only focus of your life. You know, consider the concept. She spoke about doing entrepreneurship type courses. You know, read some books, read about leadership, read about how to become a better version. You know, we usually say become a better version of yourself. You know, recognize that there are many other areas in your life that you need to grow and develop. And so, Ms. Knight, thank you very much. We're going to have you back on another occasion, and you show us some of the products that you've helped to formulate and that type of thing, so that we can actually, you know, see it. We were supposed to have St. Elmo White on, but he's having some technical challenges. And so he's not able to come on. So we'll have to find another time when we can actually have a conversation concerning looking beyond the degree in a deeper way, so that, you know, we can recognize that there are other things out there that we can accomplish. And I really want to congratulate you, Ms. Knight, on actually utilizing the what you would have learned and building on it too, because the truth is, you know, none of us have arrived. You know, you can't say, okay, sometimes you have this attitude too, that, yeah, man, they have my degree, so because I have my degree, they need to pay me X amount, and they also, and I don't need to learn anything else. You know, that is one of the challenges that sometimes employers have with us, you know, that we behave as if we know it all. And, you know, Ms. Knight spoke about the fact that she had to get some extra certification. She had to learn from other persons as well. And so I think she has her hand up for her to say a word or two.
Yes, I just want to add that no, expanding on what you said it.
Can you speak up a little bit more loudly?
I'm just commenting on what you said about C students hiring A students, and I do hire a few students who, when you look at their resume, it's perfect. When you look at their degree, it's perfect, but they still have a lot to learn. So again, adding to what Justin said, academics is not everything. So even though there were some of the brightest students, it did not translate well into when they're in the professional environment. And I just want to say to all of you that, you know, all of the students, I should say, that that is something that you ought to consider, because there's a lot of students out there with A's and A plus that you're going to compete with. But part of it is also having other strengths in other areas as well.
Awesome. Thank you so very much for pointing that out. You know, and that is part of the reason why we have this program called Holistic Development, you know, where you seek to develop in all areas of your life. All right, it has been a wonderful evening. It is 7:36, and as I keep telling people, I do not have any policeman friends, and so I am on the UWIMONA campus, and we're going to have to depart. Myself and Prof. Reese for sure are not at home. Marvadine, Wilmot, you have some comment to make?
Don't know why that was up, Dr. G. You guys need to get home. Just leave with the students. We need the grades to match the competency, and I think it supports what Kimon was saying. If the grades are important, but the grades must match the competencies.
Awesome. You had something to say, Kimon, as we wrap up?
No, that was it for me. But
okay, awesome.
Wish everyone well.
Okay, thank you so much. I really want to thank Professor Roy for sharing with us about her failures. Dr. Roden, who had to go, I want to thank her. I want to thank you, Professor Reese, for stepping in and helping to give us advice as well. Dr. Singh Wilmot, thank you very much for your contribution and all of your advice. And the students, I'm so proud of you. Trust me, I never get a 4.0 GPA. I can tell you that for sure, you know, and so I really, I'm very, very proud of you and your accomplishments. And I want you to do it again, as Dr. Singh Wilma said, let's do it again for the second semester, and let's just get those scholarships rolling in. That is my declaration over your lives, and that you will be the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. You will become the lender and not the borrower. And thank you also, Ms. Knight, for coming on and for really blessing us. And for all of the other students who came online, thank you so much for joining us. And, you know, go right ahead and share with other individuals. You know, there's going to be that time when you're going to need a little extra oomph and a little extra push to help you to move forward. You know, and so sometimes you have to talk to somebody else, lean on somebody else's shoulder in order to get to where you want to go. We are not Lone Rangers. We have to depend on each other. And, you know, as I wrap up, I remember, so in graduate school, so as I said, Professor Reese is my graduate supervisor, my PhD supervisor. And I remember, you know, things were not working the way they were supposed to work. And I remember bawling in Professor Reese's office one evening because I got back some results and they were not good. And you know, one of the things he said to me is, you will get your degree. And that was an encouragement to me through the failure, through the things not going the way I had envisioned it to go. His words of encouragement caused me to say, to dry the tears and say, okay, I will make it through. And that's my encouragement to each and every one of you as well. You will make it through. Put in the work, do what's required, listen to all of the advice that you've gotten this evening, and have a wonderful and blessed evening and a great semester 2. Let us see those great results rolling in for semester 2. All right, guys, have yourself a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Winter, for being that technical person. I appreciate it. Thank you, Nadisha, for being online, and Rachel, Natalia, and all of those who are on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and have a wonderful and blessed evening. All right, bye-bye.